Hi, I'm Mark Donovan from HomeEditionPlus.com, and today I'm going to show you a few methods on how to terminate baseboard trim. There are a number of situations where baseboard trim needs to end abruptly, such as the case when you have a staircase adjacent to a wall. In these situations, you have about 3 methods that you can employ to terminate the end of the baseboard trim. I'm going to go over those 3 methods and show you which one's the best one to getting the most professional look. So the first method of ending a piece of baseboard trim is to simply make a straight cut on the end of it using a miter saw. I've set the miter saw for 0° setting, and we're simply going to make a straight cut. So you get a nice clean cut here, but the issue is that the end grain is fully exposed. And if we were to stain this baseboard trim, this end grain would look much darker than the surface of the baseboard trim. Again, if this was not a primed piece of baseboard trim. So this method is less than a professional finish. So the second method for ending a piece of baseboard trim is to basically back cut the end of the baseboard trim at a 45° angle so that we effectively taper it, the end, as it goes into the wall. To do this, we're going to set the miter saw at a 45° angle, and then make our cut. So, up against the wall, we get that tapered edge, which gives it a better appearance. But again, the end grain is exposed, and actually more of the end grain is exposed. If you were, again, staining this type of baseboard trim, if this was a non-pre-primed piece of baseboard trim, this end would look much darker than the surface. So this type of ending of the baseboard trim is sufficient if you were priming and painting the baseboard trim, but would highly not recommend it for a staining application. So now the last method I'll go over is really the most professional way to finish or terminate a piece of baseboard trim in. It involves 2 basic cuts. What we're first going to do is cut a 45° angle so the short side is up against the wall, and then we're going to cut a small piece or a filler piece that will slide in between the wall and the end of the baseboard trim piece. So first we'll make a 45° cut on the main piece of baseboard trim. So now for the filler piece, I'm using a second piece of baseboard trim and going to make a 45° cut in the opposite direction. Now I'll trim this piece of filler piece to length so that it fits nicely into the end of the other piece of baseboard trim. So now what I've done is I've set the miter saw to 0°, and I've made a pencil mark on the front surface of the baseboard trim that's coincident with the inside angled edge on the back side of the baseboard trim. We're going to make a straight square cut across the surface of this to give us our filler piece. So to simulate a wall, I'm using a 2x6 locked into my bench. I put my long length of baseboard trim flush up against it. Then I put a little dab of glue on my wood filler piece and then simply push it into place up against the wall and the other side of the baseboard trim to complete the termination of the piece of baseboard trim. If you feel compelled to tack it in place with a couple nails, make small pilot holes for the nails and use a 4D finish nail or smaller to hold it in place. But in most cases you'll be able to have it stay locked in with simply just a little touch of glue. Once the glue is dry, you can apply some wood filler, prime and paint, and you've completed your termination of the baseboard trim. So that's all there is to it to ending a piece of baseboard trim. If you have other home improvement questions, visit us at HomeEditionPlus.com today.